Sorry, guys. I had to go to the control room. I am here. Will you please let me know that you can hear me? I think, I think we're good. Okay. Yes. Did you get this one? Good. Don't close it. Don't close it. Excellent. Okay. We are live. And let me just, yeah, good. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to answer questions. I'm going to look in the chat. Actually, good. It works loud and clear. Excellent. The only thing that could happen is it could rain at some point. My wife swears that at 6 o'clock, where I'm not going to be here by that point, it's going to be 60% chance of rain. So I'm going to just open with a little bit of a song, a composition of mine called, I got to remember what the composition is called. It's called Blues for Hank. Sort of Blues for Hank. It's a minor blues, but I don't have a guitar behind me, so I'll just do a little bit. Little Blues for Hank. Really kind of needs those minor chords behind. Whew, time to catch my breath. Anyway, great to be with you. I'm gonna actually be the first one to say that I learned a lot yesterday. I don't know how many of you were with Jason and Jason Ritchie and his live stream, but you know, I'm always a student as much as a teacher, and I sort of learned sort of how to do this thing. I think I learned a lot anyway watching him. So I'm going to sort of go down the list, and I'm going to take questions. So if you got some questions, that's sort of what this is about. It's not really a performance thing, although I'll be happy to. What I'd like you to do, actually, take a look in the video description, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But take a look at that. There's a couple of things noted there, including me asking you to sign a petition, which has been started by somebody in town, somebody I've worked with, who's a wonderful blues promoter, but he's having a hard time in this wonderful music-centered town with the town government, which has a 70 dB noise ordinance, and he's trying to get some cocktail music and stuff, and and we're having sort of a tough time. So there's a change.org petition. You just have to sign it. I gave $11. It's going to, change.org is trying to milk money out of you. I gave some money. But, money's not needed, but just sharing in a big way in a town like this will convince people. So let me just see who we got. Saginaw, Michigan. All right. The Atomic Bullfrog Boys. Brad, good. William, Scotland, terrific. Costa Rica, Mike Grill, yes. Rubik's Pioneer, Mike. Harp Blues, Bob Leach. Hey, Bob, how you doing? And Mike is saying, anything happening? Because I still couldn't get this. I couldn't get this thing going. We're going now. We are rolling. Okay. John Echo, Rubik's Pioneer. Okay. Pablo, Dan Laxer, Montreal, live from Montreal. Isn't it incredible? And here I am in, back porch. It's 54 degrees. It's kind of chilly going down, but it was 69 degrees this morning. King Zach. Okay. Original OG, original gangster. I really don't think so. Maybe that young guy was, not me. Broken Down Hulk that I am. Bob Leach, King Zach, Isaac, Harp Blues. Okay, let me move down. Dave Friedman. Okay, Dave, I know several Dave Friedmans. This is the funny thing. I don't think you're the guy who taught psychology up in Manhattan, who I gave private lessons to. Maybe you are. Anyway, I'll keep going down the list. Ronnie, hey, man. Wow, I'm honored. Ronnie Cellist and I have done many events together, starting when we got together at Spa back in, I don't know when that was, man. That was a while back. Could have been Milwaukee. Wasn't Milwaukee, but it was a while back. James Bardo, Walder. I've got the kind of last name that you have, which is that people get it wrong. Nasser. Dan, okay. See some repeat. I'm going to kind of keep moving. Armando. Amaryllis, greetings from Chandler, Arizona. Is that on Route 66? I'm wondering. New Mexico, terrific. By the way, before I forget, well, no, I'm not going to talk about that now. I'll wait a little bit later. BKB, Patrick. Okay, Hungary, Oklahoma City, India. Hey, man. Wow. Someday I hope to get there. By the way, yeah, I've got a student. I'm not going to name him, but I've got a student in India who can do my sound so closely that it's frightening. Though there are people out there. It was interesting to listen to Jason. I thought Jason sort of sounded more like him than like me when he did me, which is, to me, that's actually really good. There's only two players that I lose myself in, actually, is James Cotton and Sonny Terry. In other words, I can probably do their sounds. I can't really do Little Walter. I can't get anybody else right. And I think that's actually okay at this point. I'd rather sound like me. Italy, Yash. Hey, man. Okay, good. Do I have two from? I think I have two from India. This is great. Graduate student in New York. Good to know. Good to know. Italy, Poland. Okay, we have an international group. Pablo has asked what looks like the first question. So let me take this. Tips for slow blues unaccompanied. Well, early on, some of you may have been around since 2007 it was in March of 2007 when it was sort of spring break at Ole Miss, and I was sitting on a back porch in a place where I was afraid to make too much noise. People were kind of getting ready to sort of move out of town on spring break, and I was sitting actually on the front porch, and I called it North Mississippi Front Porch Blues Harp Lesson. It's gotten more interest over the years than almost anything I've done, and all I was doing was doing what my teacher Nat Riddles did. So you ask about, are there tips? Well, the first tip is several tips. One is you have to know the blues progression. You have to know 12-bar blues. And so one of the things that I stress again and again is that there's a threshold for call you sort of people in the broad middle intermediate players. And the threshold is, if you were to come to me for a private lesson, I would say, can you play me and people who've come on the occasions when they're coming through Oxford and we do this, I say, can you play a 12-bar blues? Play at any tempo. Can you play it so that I can hear the changes? And there's any number of ways to do this, but that I can hear the changes and that you have no more and no less than 48 beats, right? It's 12 times 4 beats to a bar, 12 bars to the blues. And so that you should do that. There's many ways to do it. You could go, the simplest possible would be like, no, it's simpler. could go until I'm. Now that's if I had done the whole thing through. So that would, but you'd pass the test. You'd get that bare pass, but it would be an absolute pass. You would not flunk it. But there's amazing how many people can jam along and do all kinds of fancy things, but can't actually do that. Now let's talk about slow blues. What do I have any tips for slow blues? So the first thing is you have to know the 12-bar blues progression, assuming that you want to do a slow blues that actually tracks that progression. Of course, you could just play freely and not have changes. Let me see if I can do that. I'm so rooted in the changes. I think you mean changes. I think you mean unaccompanied slow blues. So let's assume I'm going to do an unaccompanied slow blues. That's a 12-bar blues. So the first thing is I start on the cadence. I start on the 5 to 4 to 1. I think that's where many slow blues, when we're at a jam session or when pros are playing. So that's the cadence. And then we're on downbeat of 1 and we have to figure out something to do. So the first thing is you really have to have that blues progression behind you. The best way of doing it, probably get a jam track. I didn't learn that way, but probably get a jam track and play along with the jam track until you're able to sort of play along with it in a way that works, and then try to do it without a jam track. But let me just, I'm sure I've got a lot of questions. I'll take a look in a sec. So let me give you a couple of other things. In North Mississippi front porch blues harp lesson, whatever it was called, I left space. And to me, that was what had always been missing. It's very tempting as a harp player and as a guy talking harp on the back porch. It's really tempting to try to want to fill every moment with harp, and especially if you're playing slow. And so to understand that the power in a slow unaccompanied harmonica blues resides in your ability to be locked into the beat, to know exactly where you are in the changes, and to leave space. Let me see if I can do that. Space. Two, three. Now notice, I could, go back, even as I'm playing, I can go back and say, in order to be able to play that kind of slow blues, not only do you have to be able to leave space, have a steady beat, have the chord progression somewhere in there. You have to be able to play long notes, I think. So obviously what I'm trying to do is kind of vary and put some surprise in, but I'm able to do that because I have all those other things sort of completely hardwired. Let me go on. I'm sure there's a lot of other questions. Okay. So let's see. Where was this? Tips for slow blues. King Zach, what do you think about the Hohner Rocket? Do you know what? I don't actually have any opinion. I'm a Hohner Marine Band guy. I know I've played the Rocket at some point, but I couldn't actually off the bat tell you. So I love Hohner. I'm a longtime Hohner endorser. I can't actually say anything about the Hohner Rocket. So on the tech thing, I and certain specific harps and tunings, I probably can't actually answer those questions. Let's see what else we got. Myron, greetings from the Texas Gulf Coast. No rain in Mississippi. I hope not. I hope not. Florida, 79 degrees. Well, that's Florida. That's Florida. Stilock from Rio de Janeiro. Steellock, I want to get down to Rio at some point. I want to get to Brazil, but first we got to kill off this plague that's just taking us all down. So, be safe, everybody. The nice thing here is I don't have to wear a mask. Good. From Texas, Germany, Charlie Storr from Germany, terrific. Mimox was here, 23 years old. You were my inspiration since 18. Terrific. Fun ride. Excellent. If you get deep into the blues will take you, by the way, into places you don't expect. So don't expect, it's not all going to be fun and games. I have to stress that. And of course, blues is not the only music you can play. It might be good actually to be able to move in a jazz direction from time to time, just for your peace of mind. I don't have the chops to do that, but a little. I'm blocking on Sonny Rollins' song. 23 years old, so hang in there and give it time to find its place. Cumbria, man, terrific. Cumbria is in North England, if I'm not wrong. The scariest thing I've done in my adult life was after leaving Tom Lecky's the blues harmonica workshop that he did in I'm not caffeinated enough. Edinburgh. I rented a car in an underground car rental place and came up onto the streets and began to navigate the traffic. Of course, driving on the wrong side. I did a really smart thing because I was terrified. I'm down in the thing and I'm saying I'm going to drive on the wrong side of the road and I'm going to try to get from here to London in 2 days. I'm going to end up tonight in Liverpool. I thought, how am I going to do this? I can't do this. I'm going to have an accident. I said to the guy, when Americans return their rental cars, are they ever bent up? He goes, oh yeah, in his Scottish accent. He says, yeah, that left front fender is usually a problem. And I said, do you have any advice that you would give people who are just a little scared of sitting on the wrong side of the car? Luckily, by the way, I love manual transmissions, but in this case, I had an automatic. I was on the right side, right? So I didn't have to shift. And he said, yeah. And he said, take your left mirror, the mirror on what in America would be the driver's side, but it's the passenger side, and tilt it down so you can see the curb. He said, then you'll always know where you are relative to the curb. And I thought, wow. Thank you. That's what they mean by an angel. Anyway, first hole overblow, ABC, ABC. So first hole overblow, I can barely do it. I certainly can't sustain it. I use it every now and then. So I can do it to that extent. So yeah, well, maybe I sustained it. Thanks, ABC, ABC. So I should actually adjust. Maybe the problem is I don't adjust the harp for the one overblow. I've been doing 4, 5, 6. That's really all I do. A little bit of, you want to see me try to do an overdraw? That's my squeaky 8 overdraw. 7. Now 7 is really useful. So I'm not really an overdrawer, just 4, 5, and 6, but that one. So the reason why I'd like to have one overblow is because I'd like to be able to play. It's a Duke Ellington. Steely Dan sampled this, didn't they? The East St. Louis Toodaloo. East St. Louis, of course, was the sort of the black side of St. Louis back in the day. There was a horrible race riot. White folks had a riot and killed black folks. So it wasn't a race riot exactly, but it was a really bad thing that happened there, and it poisoned the environment there. Ferguson is sort of a different part, but it poisoned the environment. The East St. Louis Toodaloo. East St. Louis was a place, very famous black blues poet. Eugene Redmond was the poet laureate of East St. Louis. He's a blues poet. If you're interested in blues literature, he doesn't get enough written about him. Eugene Redmond. Let me just, quick announcement, by the way, so take a look at the extended description. I've got a website, Modern Blues Harmonica. If you're a beginner who's just sort of stumbled into this thing, I do have some materials. Some of you in the chat have probably used them over the years. And if you're new to this thing, if you came after my announcement, one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because I got my friend Daryl Parker, who's an Oxford local. He's been here forever, born and raised in Oxford, and he's a blues promoter. Somebody who he's done a wonderful job on the Oxford Blues Festival, but he sent me something today that there's a change.org petition. So I would have you take a look at that and maybe add your name to it. Give him any money if you want, but mostly just add your name and share it. And let's let the mayor of Oxford, Robin Tannehill, is she's been terrific. I think she'll respond when she sees that people care. Oxford's a great music town, and my son, my 15-year-old son's been out there busking on his euphonium. Petition signed, terrific. Okay, let me. So ABC, that's my thought about the overblow thing on 1. David Ward, new student. What key is your harp in? Well, I've changed several. So this is a C. Of course, I can play the same licks. They'll be down. So the lick I just played on that C harp basically was the juke, opening riff of juke, which is normally played on an A. So if I play it on the A, right? I'm not going to play juke for you now. I know. I should do that at some point. Too many good people out there do it far better than Billy Branch, son of Juke. If you want to know how to update juke, go to son of Juke. Anyway, so C harp. Those are the first 2 holes. A harp. If you're new to the harp thing, here's an F way up. I think this is very confusing when you're starting out. It's like, why the different harps? But you just learn the licks on one harp, and then of course each harp. And I talked about this when I did something for Harmonica UK, is that each harp, here's a wonderful practice thing you might do every day. Start on the G harp. Take a low harp. Let's go G up to F. And work on that blues scale and get it to sound right. And when I say get it to sound right, these are cold because it's kind of cold out here. But make each of those notes, especially that 3, that blue third, that sort of half-step-ish bend on 3. And then move from G up to A and do the same thing. That sucked. Now, so to my ears, that 3 doesn't quite want to do what I want it to do. Could be because it's cold, could be doesn't have spit in it. I can actually spit a little in it. And those of you who've been playing marine bands for a while know that that little bit of water in the wooden comb harp will actually make it kind of loosen up. Or kill it. No, actually. So what happened is a little bit of spit that I put in went to the 2 draw instead of the 3 draw, and it's flattened a little bit. It's coming back in. What I would suggest that you do is that you go up, and you do the blues scale straight up to F. Why not F? Cold harp. And it's really like, the way to think about it is, many years ago I was in the pit band with Big River, the bus and truck tour of a Broadway show, and a woman named Ann Patterson, who was, at that point, she was playing with the Swinging Sweethearts of Rhythm. She was a professional. She flew in from LA. She was an LA session player. And she had her soprano sax, she had her alto sax, she had her tenor sax. She didn't play Barry, but she had those 3. She played all 3. because they were required. That's just what she did. She had those saxes. So imagine if you're a harp player playing just a 10-hole diatonic, it's like you're carrying those 3 saxes, and you have to be grooved on all 3. So the soprano's like an F. The alto is sort of like your, what's funny, because alto, I think of alto as pretty high, but a soprano would be like the F or like a high A recital. And, in the middle, the alto would be the C, and the tenor is sort of more like the A or the B flat. And then the bari would be like a G or a low harp, right? And that it's a challenge. Each of those saxes is going to take different embouchure. So let me, the Satan and Adam watch ad music. What's this? New student. What key is your harp in? Okay, I'm going to go down. Peter Austin, I'm reading your book, Satan and Adam, right now. You mean Mr. Satan's apprentice, I think. So I do have, so yes, if you're interested, if you saw the Satan and Adam documentary and you're interested in learning more, then by all means get a hold of my 1998 memoir. The blue hardcover is probably still out there, but there's a new version that came out in 2009 with a sort of orangey and yellow kind of cover, and me and Sterling on the cover, with actually a new foreword in which I sort of talk about the process of writing this book about my sort of interracial musical partnership at a really pressured moment it's like 95, 96. It was after the OJ thing. It was after the LA riots. It was a time, I think there's echoes of that right now, but it was a time when there was a lot of sort of race tension in the air. You'd have cover stories in Newsweek or Time, sort of black and white in America. Can people understand each other anymore? And Rodney King, can we all get along? By the way, if you ever quote Rodney King, it's not can't we all get along, it's can we all get along, CAN. So make sure you get those little things right. So let's take a look. Okay. Colin Kirby. Hey, Adam, great to see you. Reading your book. Okay. Clay Dobbins, thanks for sitting down with us. You're quite welcome. Professor Gussow, help? No. Richard Cruz. Yes, Richard. I know we've met. Few tasty licks in River Hit Mama by Charlie Musselwhite with some higher register runs. Do you have anything on learning some of those? Well, here's what I'll tell you. I don't know that specific song. I've heard it at some point. And of course, I did an interview with Charlie. If you like Charlie Musselwhite's music and you're interested in his life as a young man, you might go, and I realize we're losing all of our ambient light, so it's looking very Mississippi-ish at this point. You might go and take a look back in my YouTube, in this same YouTube channel, and look at an hour-long interview that I did with him. Talk about how I think there's something that Charlie does a lot of, that I do a lot of, that jazz players do. Jason certainly does, but a lot of players tend to restrict themselves to sort of holes 1 through 6, and maybe. So your average harp player who's sort of not investigated the high end tends to then graft first position licks onto high end, instead of being melodic. And so I'm going to just suggest that one thing you might do if you're interested in moving up to that higher end is simply learn basic triads, the triads that you learn on the lower octave, translate them, move them up. And one of the most interesting things for me is that 70% of the moves, when you move them, are the same. In other words, the challenge of sort of playing the high end and playing it melodically is it's not just sort of learning where the notes are, but it's that you've got a lot of grooved reflexes to create certain kinds of licks. Like, now you can't do that lick on the high end, but you can go. Which of course is from another Charlie, Willow Weep for Me. I'm not doing the whole thing. I haven't listened to it in decades, but that's something I learned from Charlie Musselwhite, probably the album called Memphis, Tennessee. So Charlie, always an adventurous player, but the high-end thing. So just doing that level of translation. Now that lick, now here's a weird thing. Sometimes when you try to do something that shouldn't be there, you can actually get part of it. You can actually bend, what I'm trying to say is you can actually bend the 8 draw down a little bit. Not supposed to be able to do it. It's not, it's one of those things that's not really there. You can inflect it down slightly. My point is that you should be trying to play licks that you can do down below. You should make every attempt. Best example would be a kind of boogie woogie lick. So here's a C harp. Now you notice I threw in a little bit of, it says connection unstable. Connection unstable. You know, guys, I've got to move on. Let me show you one more thing that I think is thinking about the high end. And I'm getting just so you, I don't know if you can hear me. It says your connection is unstable. Please wait while we try reconnecting. I don't know. You're fine with connection. Thanks, Mike. Okay. So it's just doing its YouTube thing. So one thing that Charlie does that I do that I don't hear a lot of other players doing, and I'm going to just, if I point you towards it now, you're going to go and do it, but why not? Which is octaves on the high end. Here's how I used to do this. I can't remember my own lick, but I know. Let's just take that. Let's just take that. So I'm going 3/6 blow. And when I do 3/6 blow, I'm blocking 2 notes, right? I'm blocking 4 and 5, 3/6 blow. Then I'm moving up and I'm blocking 3 holes. Which is 3/7 draw. I'm going 3/6 blow to 3/7 draw. You've got your money's worth on this. Just doing that may blow the minds of some of you, right? If you've never done that before. Wait a minute, what? You have to move the harp away from your mouth. To 4/8 draw. To 5/8 blow. So there I've gone back to just blocking 2 after blocking 3. To 9, 6/9 blow, which is the octave, right? Well, Charlie does a lot of those sorts of things. So those are all what I call them octavized. I'm octavizing. So I'm octavizing the 5/9 draw, which is the flat 7th. So the great, I'll just move on to the next question. But the great thing about this is the harp's a tiny instrument. Why not figure out ways of making bigger sounds? This is why somebody says, I know that a lot of hardcore Chicago players tongue block, but do I really need to tongue block? Yeah, you do. You don't have to do it all the time, in my view, but it absolutely, it's going to help you get some of those really big sounds. And again, so I think underexploited are octaves in the upper register, and they're a way of getting a really big sound. And so moving up. Let me see if I can do it one more time. Things are a little cold and frosty here. Anyway, I'm gonna go back down and see split. Okay. Jimmy Reed was the best in the high register. Well, I think Sugar Blue and Jason Ritchie are the best in the high register. But Jimmy Reed, I'm seeing Clay Dobbins's point. So what Jimmy Reed did was really lay the groundwork. James Cotton stuff all comes straight out of Jimmy Reed. No question about that. Sugar Blue, not so much. Sugar Blue is really doing serious high-end playing, and Jason's taking it somewhere. What Jimmy Reed did, of course, was mostly he was doing that in first position. And so I'm saying you got to be careful. It's important to learn how to play that style. Something, of course, every player needs to spend time with those Jimmy Reed recordings and learn first position. But then you got to beware. Don't then try to apply those first position licks to cross harp playing. It's not gonna get you quite as far as you need to go because you're not really being melodic in cross harp that way. Ilkura Fox, hello. I was born with tongue tie. How much does it affect playing the harmonica? I've only heard the informal expression that somebody's tongue tied, meaning is that it's going to be tough for us to communicate through the comment column. So I'm not sure if that means stuttering, like our president has that, and I hope that's still a polite term. I don't know, or whether it means sort of being really, really shy, which is an entirely different thing. Maybe you can clarify that, and if I see it down below, I'll answer that. I'm looking back up. So Richard Cruz. Cyril Ferris, okay, Adam, I can play the major scale single notes, but I can't bend. What do? I've seen your shuffle videos. I can sort of do that, but I really want to bend. Let's talk about that. I don't want to take a long time with that. And by the way, let me pause for the cause. It's cold out here. We need to warm up a little bit. Let's take the C harp. Now, of course, I'm going to suggest that you go to YouTube and put in Gussow bending, and you'll find probably a half dozen videos where over the years I've tried to teach this. I think a couple of key things. If you can't get a good solid single note, if your embouchure is not good enough to keep that note solid and just one note, you're going to have a tougher time bending. So the first thing I would say is make sure that you can actually do single notes. Now, one out of 10 people can bend right off the bat. If I say, imagine you're a kamikaze pilot, the plane's going down, and you're a kid making that sound. If you just make the sound, which is sort of pulls your tongue up and back in your mouth, that's actually close to one basic way of bending. I know what to do, obviously, and so it's working for me. But for 1 out of 10 people, that's enough. Second thing, and I have, by the way, on Modern Blues Harmonica, there's a FAQ, frequently asked questions page, in which I have cut and pasted somebody else's description. So what about if you had a McDonald's milkshake? If they still make those, I haven't had one in years. But if you had one and it's really thick, or a Burger King milkshake, and you're sucking on that straw, that mouth motion may do it, right? Here's a third one. John Gindick will talk about making a specific syllable, kiku, while you're drawing in. So this is all drawing in. We're working on the 4 draw. And actually, this is really important. Start on the 4 draw, whatever harp you have, and in the middle register, don't use an F harp. Don't use G harp's okay, but sort of B flat through C would probably be ideal, and work on the 4 first. In order of difficulty, the bends go 4, 2, 3. In terms of making a blues pitch, why is that? Well, it's because the distance between the bend is determined partly by the distance between the 2 notes, the draw note and the blow note. You can always bend the draw note down almost as far as the blow note in a given hole. In hole 4, they're a whole step apart. You can bend that 4 draw down more than half a step. The half step is the sheet music note, right? The flat 5th, but you can bend that 4 down more. there's a sort of hard bend on the 4. On the 2, they're a minor third apart, so you can bend it down more than a whole step. That last note was sort of a hard bend on 2. If you want to make sure that you're getting the pitches right, one thing to do might be to try to do the Batman theme song. No, it's hard to do, but that going down a half step and then a whole step. Now again, you can pull it harder, but it tends to notch into mostly a full step bend on that 2 draw. And so for most people, it's easier. The 3, of course, the blues pitch is not just yanking it down the way you do on the 4, the way you do on the 2, right? Hang on one sec, everybody. I'm going to just turn on a light. Well now, a little bit more light. Let there be light. So anyway, those are a couple of different ways. I think you should go and Google Gussow bending, and you'll find some more considered thoughts about this. Richard Cruz mentions that I have an audiobook. So there's an audiobook version. If you're interested, I would say this is actually worth thinking about. If you saw the documentary Satan and Adam, like where kind of my past that led up to actually that, which is its own kind of story. I did an audiobook version on over a period of 6 months with lots of micro edits, but I did the best I could, got it professionally mastered, and I put a couple of things in that are not in Mr. Satan's. Well, there's one that's in Mr. Satan's Apprentice, a transcription basically of what Mr. Satan, Sterling Magee, called his God tape. It was a night that he'd gotten really high. He was totally centered in his prophetic thing. It's fascinating. It's funny. It's a remarkable kind of document. And I actually have that recording, so you can actually hear him. So if you want to know what he really sounded like, you know that in the film, obviously, but the God tape will give you a sense of the man that I was dealing with, that private. He wasn't always prophetic, but when he would drink, he would get prophetic. And anyway, there's some harmonica playing too. So in it. Colin, you like the car vids? Thanks so much. Right now I'm just waiting on somebody around here to paint the thing. I'm really into. I hope it's not raining. Is that rain? I hope not. Okay, we've been going for an hour. I'm going to keep going for a while. Serpico 1954, met you back in 2009 Amsterdam workshop. Yes, I did a workshop. I did a master class. 140 people. Like in America, that doesn't really happen, except at Spa. But I had an amazing master class with just some amazing players, and got a chance actually to play the closest I've ever played to Little Walter stuff. You should look on YouTube. I uploaded a couple of those. It was like My Babe, I think, and I had my little amp mic'd up, and it was like it had that Little Walter sound much more than I there's no other time when I've really done that. But I had a band that was doing that exact kind of jump thing. By the way, point of fact worth thinking about: 95% of my professional playing over the years has been in duos or now in a trio, but not in bands. I have had some band experience. I was in a band with a guy named Brian Kramer, who's now a key part of the Swedish blues scene, and a fair number of pickup gigs over the years. But in terms of sort of long-term partnerships, Satan and Adam, the Blues Doctors, Sir Rod and the Blues Doctors, which is my current band. Okay, so Amsterdam was fun. I really enjoyed Amsterdam, and just really wonderful harmonica people. Ben Bowman, wonderful player. I got a chance to hang out with him and stay at his flat, as we say. Jesse Cornell, new here, been learning Delta blues on guitar, and I just got a kit harp. Excited to learn. Good. Yeah, Delta blues is interesting. Some harp on Delta blues can be a little different. I have to think about. We do a song, the Blues Doctors, in our second album did one of those old Mississippi blues. It's interesting. They're not all 12-bar blues. The other interesting thing is you can talk to some blues scholars will say, well, Delta blues and hill country blues, very different. And then all you have to do is say, John Lee Hooker, he plays one chord blues. Is that Delta blues or is that, he's from Clarksdale. And you realize that the whole thing is sort of semi-invented. There is a hill country sound, but some of the Delta blues, like Catfish Blues, or the one we did, Rollin' and Tumblin'. It's one of those things that has 3 instead of 2, so it's a kind of an oblong. It's very hard to do if you're not used to it, but it's one of those things that once you're hooked in, it just sort of seems like it works. It's like one of those jazz tunes. If you're somebody who's really can do all the 12-bar blues but have never heard that particular song, you're going to mess it up really bad the first time. So Rollin' and Tumblin', get the blues doctors and see if you can figure out what's going on. Anyway. Yash Chandra, some advice for cleaning up airy bends. What a great question. I've never had that precise question. So yeah, let's think about airy bends. I think we've all had those. My first thought would be embouchure. So would be, are you letting a little bit of air sort of sneak in around the edges? So there, what I'm doing is sort of pulling the harp away from my mouth, and that makes it harder to bend. So the first thing is just make sure you've got bulgy lips, clear, strong, and then do whatever you do inside your mouth to make the bend. That would be the first thing I would think about. Second thing is, and I work kind of intuitively, so I'm going to tell you, I remember a moment, it's interesting, when Sterling and I, although we used to play on 125th Street in Harlem, every now and then we'd get in a mood to sort of go downtown. And so I remember a few times, and I've got a recording of one. Somebody recorded it and sent it to me many, many years later, playing in Times Square. And what I remember was playing for big crowds on a warm St. Paddy's Day. And, St. Paddy's, it was great. We were making money. It was just probably in 87, I think. And what I remember was that I played so hard that I lost the ability to create the glottal stop. And I wonder if anybody out there has ever had this happen, where you're either practicing for so long and hard or pulling so hard. It's the thing that if you have a tween or a young teenager and they make that sound, that's just disgusting. That's the glottal stop that they're sort of abusing. So imagine that you pulled so hard and were bending so hard. This is really from bending. I lost the ability. I almost lost the ability to bend. Now, I don't know, that's neither here nor there, but it means that bending is a complex act, and there may be some thing back there that you're not attending to. So solving problems is always a question of figuring out what the variables are. And guys, guess what? It's starting to rain. It's not quite on me yet, but we're gonna go for 5 more minutes this time. Let me just quite on me yet, but we're gonna go for 5 more minutes this time. Let me just I'm thinking that I'd like to do this again on New Year's Day. I'm not sure what time, but I'm thinking like this time of day on New Year's Day. I'm thinking sort of 4 in the afternoon. So be on the lookout. If you're not yet, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, this particular channel, I have 2 channels. I have the sort of legacy channel that was the one I started with in 2007. And then I have this one. This is the monetized channel. I started because the other channel, I'd given away so much stuff with other people's music that YouTube just said, disabled for monetization. And I didn't go into this whole thing wanting to, I guess that's my AOL. Let me just get rid of that. I didn't go into this wanting to monetize. When I started in 2007 and said I'm going to give it all away, you couldn't monetize. That didn't exist on YouTube. It's hard to believe, but it wasn't until April of 2007 that you could actually that a film company could get on YouTube and with commercials and stuff like that. Anyway, point is, this is my monetized channel. subscribe to this channel, and then you'll get an alert, I guess. But look for that, I think, on New Year's Day. It seems like the right time. What I would suggest is that you figure out some questions. I may join my Modern Blues Harmonica mailing list if you would, which you can get to through just go Adam Gussow contact. That will get you to the contact page of the website, and then just sign up. And that will then I'll send out an email. I'm going to do that at some point in the next few days. I want to sort of think it through. I'm about to take a little vacation. And what else can I say? I'm going to look down real quick. Jimmy Reed was the best in the high register. Yes, he was in first position. He's wonderful. But, Sugar Blue does some amazing stuff too. Yeah, I tried bending notes. I think, Kura Fox, I think what you have to do is you have to take advantage of whatever the challenge is. Remember Django Reinhardt, one of the greatest all-time jazz guitar players. And he'd been in a fire, I think, and he had, I mean, look at it. I don't know exactly what it was, but he had a thumb, and I think he had these two fingers fused and these, and he was on his fingering hand, right? Not his picking hand. And yet he was one of the greatest jazz guitar players in the world. So there's always a patch through. There's always something. Not Brooklyn Slim, Jersey Slim, George Cook, my friend George Cook from the Dan Lynch days. He's in Florida now. George Cook had something wrong with his arm or his hand, and so he tends to play basically with one arm at his side and one arm like this. Plays great. He's found a way. He found the right kind of setup on the harp to do that. So, stay happy and stay determined, and you can turn this into something that gives you a sound that's actually distinctive, I think, if you work with it right. So yeah, figure that out. It is safe, comfortable, safe, doable, and fun. Stuart Yeager, thank you. Comfortable, safe, doable, and fun. That's good. It should be. Just remember, if you get deep, this happens to be a full moon tonight. I'd be really curious if I could stay a little longer, and actually it's not really raining. I'm one of these people who feels that, and I so that I don't laugh at people. I try to. My wife thinks it's a joke, but I think that there are people who are more sensitive to the full moon vibe. We cleaned out every single cabinet today, driven by me. The liquor cabinet, all the frying pans. I went and did. There's stuff that can be done when the full moon is working with you. Does that sound crazy? Well, you know what's interesting? To some of you, it sounds crazy, and to some of you, it's like, oh man, of course. And that's what's really fun, is I think we don't all experience the world the same way, but I think there's something there. Just like ESP, right? I think those people are crazy, but then people who have ESP think they just laugh at me. Okay. So 6 overblow, Richard, yes, you've got to learn the 6 overblow. Yeah. Pentaharp, Pedro Pacheco. Pedro, I have not played the pentaharp. I'm not the guy. But maybe I should. Honer will send me one. I was talking with Drew Lewis at Honer the other day. And by the way, let me just say thank you to those of you who signed up. It turned out that the gold-plated harp that I did as a giveaway, that went to somebody who actually watched the preview video for that and signed up right away. And it went. He was the one who won. Second place and third place were people on my mailing list. First place, I couldn't quite believe it, but he was legit. He'd been following my YouTube videos for a while. I'm going to answer one more. Oh God, I've got a few things here. New Year's resolution. Okay. Did a giveaway happen yet? The giveaway happened, Joe. It did. Giveaway happened. I want to answer one last question. Throat bending is for tongue blocking. Wolfsburg Warehouse. Let me say one word about this. So, all the bends with 99.5% of the bending that I do lip pursed. Now that's true for a number of players, but it's not true for a significant number of players who are sort of what we call full-time tongue blockers. And so when I play 4-draw, I'll use the C, I suppose. I'm lip pursing. Now, full-time tongue blocker puts their tongue on holes 1, 2, and 3, and out of the right corner of their mouth, they bend with 4. To those of you who tongue block, it's like, well, yeah, that's how they do it. For others of you, this is going to seem really, really bizarre. And the truth is, I can't do it very well, and I never do it in my playing. So that's Gussow's best attempt, as opposed to lip pursing. So for me, but there are people who practice it a lot. Dennis Grunling, that's just how he plays. That's the A, bending the 4 draw. So the 3 draw, I occasionally will, on certain kinds of riffs. Now there I'm playing 1/4 blow, mostly 4 blow, blocking out 1, 2, and 3. Now I like that sound. That's a very different sound than a lip pursed 4 blow, as opposed to, depending on the kind of sound you want. If you want to move sort of really briskly, you may say, I don't want a tongue block. But for certain kinds of straight up, and especially Chicago blues, and so there, if my tongue's already on it and I want, I'll get that 3 and I'll bend it down a little bit. And so I've learned to do that. It's one of those things that I didn't really do for years. On the 2 draw, my teacher played like that. Now that's tongue blocked. Tongue on the 1 and the piece of wood. 2-hole. I don't do it very much. It's not my standard way. But I can if I have to. I really like tongue block, not bent, 2 draw. So that's all tongue block. No, not tongue block. Tongue block. Not. Now. So there are subtle differences, and and sometimes you want a particular kind of sound, so I'll move in and out, but for the most part, I don't bend when my tongue is on the harp. I can do it just on those couple of notes, and I never, ever bend blow bends. Mitch Kashmar, unbelievable. He'll do that, and it sounds great. So blow bends, but just I don't tend to do that. I think that would be, for me, more profitable, because I think there's some specific things that sound really cool. Let me give you an example. Years ago, I learned, it was actually on a G harp, but I'm going to play it on an a song off an album that Wade Schumann hipped me to in 1986. I met this guy drinking beer outside Le Magee, a bar in Paris. It was the Buskers bar in Paris. And he said, my name's Wade. It was Wade Schumann, as we know from Hazmat Modine. And he did all this crazy first position stuff. It was all off harmonica blues of the 20s and 30s, that album. And so I got it when I got home, and I learned a few of those songs. And I realized now that they were all played tongue blocked. I didn't do it that way. A little bit there. So at that last part, right, you've probably not heard me play this way. I don't really play this way, but these are the things that players learn at some point, work out. That there was nobody doing a YouTube video for that. That's just me sitting down on the, on the wood floor with the record again and again and again, saying, what the hell is he doing? But I realized that it would have been played probably full-time tongue block. Terrible, right? I have not mastered that. So for me, it's going back and forth using my tongue. for some things and not on the bends, right? And so you can see that it's tricky. Guys, I'm looking at this. I realize I've been going for a solid hour and 20 minutes with a couple of minutes scrubbed off the front end. I am going to call it a night now. I want to thank you all. Seriously, I'm looking. I've got 58 now. We were up to the 70s at one point. I'm really honored. Just want to make sure that I didn't miss anybody, not in terms of questions, but maybe cheers from Francisco de F. Cheers, greetings from, okay, is Italy. It looks like Italy. Okay, the Italian flag. Thank you. Did the giveaway happen? Yeah, the giveaway happened. Somebody won. Happy holidays, everybody. I won't see you before Christmas. I probably won't see you before New Year's, but just remember, make a note to yourself, New Year's Day, afternoon, Central Time. And I got lots of stuff to do, but I think 4 o'clock on New Year's Day sounds like a good time to come out and do this. So I'm gonna sign off. We'll do more of this. I'm so glad this worked. Sorry for the slight false start at the beginning when I didn't realize that it didn't just go live. I had to go back to the what do you call my side of it and admin it in a certain way. All right, I'm gone. I think that's it. Okay, bye. Later.